Hello and welcome to Dreamwell Comics Shop Chatter with Robert and Jimmy. The aforementioned Robert Page. He is co-owner and manager of Dreamwell Comics in Carson City, Nevada by day. The first of his name, King of the Andals and Reigner and the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, and Protector of the Realm by night.
How'd you know?
I watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so that's how I know. Anyway, and I am your not so humble host of all things pop culture kaboom, Jimmy Jones. And we are here to add our combined knowledge of the comic book industry. Robert as a comic shop owner and a fan and a collector, and I as a fan and a collector. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what we're going to be talking about is this is episode 5. So if you're new to the show, you shouldn't be. We're 5 into it, but if you're new to the show, what we're going to do is be talking to you about all kinds of things that have to do with the comic book industry, writing, and have our unique opinions of it. Just bear that in mind, it is just our opinions, and everybody has their own opinion about everything. So, like most things in the world, superhero costumes did not just pop into the world out of thin air. There was a long history of costumes that predated them and influenced their creation. And there was the colorful armor that knights wore in the Middle Ages.
This is true.
There was the fantastical outfits that some of the characters in pulp fiction novels and adventure comic strips wore. Perhaps most notably, there was the over-the-top attire that circus performers wore in the many traveling shows of the early 20th century. And all of these previous ideals helped to influence the direction of superhero costumes in comic book history.
I agree.
Okay, I'm not wrong on any of that.
No?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Needless to say, there are a number of reasons under the sun why characters got new costumes. It could be anything from copyright to political. Sometimes it's a big deal and done just to sell more comics. And that is a sad fact of the reality of life and the industry, too. Mm-hmm. The worst reasons are for story context, especially in any type of time travel. I don't know why the outfits have to match the time period. That always bugged me. There was nothing goofier than Superman's costume looking like knight's armor just because he was in the Middle Ages. I think some of the worst fashion ideas have been shoulder pads and characters having an unlimited number of unnecessary pouches. Yes. Among other things. But everybody has their opinion about costumes and costume changes over the years. And we're going to be talking about the worst and best, because we're not going to be completely negative.
No.
Costume changes that come to mind.
Yes.
So, and by our mind, except for the intro, none of this is scripted. So just
I think
that
it's fairly apparent.
We got some little side notes, but that's about it. So the first one that comes to my mind is, or that when we talked about doing this topic 2 days ago, was that Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah.
Yeah, he had a hideous red and yellow costume with a single D on the front of it. For dork or something, I don't know what it was.
Looked like a wrestler.
But truly a man without fear wearing a bad costume and clearly a suit befitting of a blind person, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it only took 6 episodes for them to change that costume to the more solid red with a double D.
Double D. And the horns.
Oh, yeah.
The addition of the horns.
No, the yellow one, the original one had horns on it,
I don't remember having horns. I don't remember the red one.
Guys.
Yeah, they grew up. But the red one, that gave the nicknames, Hornhead, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it became really iconic.
It did, and it became his look. And so that was the red, in my opinion, was the best. The best he could do, the best they did. And that was in the 60s. And the worst?
Well, the worst was that thing they called the black armor.
I hated the armor.
It was a generic looking...
Typical 90s.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, and if you really look at it, it's
pointless.
It's barely armored.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, he had gauntlets, I think.
He had gauntlets and
something
some weird
on the side of his hip for some reason.
Probably a big pouch.
No, it was some like weird armor thing on the side of his hips.
I just
absolutely
hated
no
it.
sense.
I absolutely hated it.
So, but but the iconic red one, that's the Daredevil, and they should just stay with that. I mean, there's no reason to change his costume.
And I realized when I was thinking about this, so there is kind of an underlying theme as we discuss this, and maybe you'll catch it too that I did.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm horrible with these things.
I
All
know,
right,
so
all
it
right.
should be interesting.
I think out of everything, Iron Man.
Oh, dear Lord.
Probably. What? For the most part, Iron Man, he's had 61 suits in the comic books.
Yeah.
So he's 61 years old. So basically, he's had a suit every year. And they've always supposedly progressively gotten better. Some of them were just ridiculous, though. But for the most part, the suits didn't change too drastically.
No.
I mean, but like everything else, some were really cool looking. Some were just downright awful. I liked the Model 9 and the Model 64. And of course, the Model 11 later became the War Machine.
The War Machine, yeah.
The worst, in my opinion, was the white and red Model 18.
Yeah.
And they made a big old stink about putting that one out because Iron Man's changing his arm. Remember that?
I do remember
Okay,
that. Yeah.
I saw that with the diamond on the front. And I was just like, okay, this is horrible. It was that red and white, and it was just.
It was, yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I didn't
Silver
like it at all. I'm glad I
Centurion.
didn't like it at all. The other one was the Model 39 armor. That made him look like he wanted to be in the Tron universe. It was just the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen.
That was the.
It didn't even look like Iron Man. I was like, it
No.
seriously looked like one of the cycle riders in Tron. It was bizarre.
It really was. It was supposed to be specialty armor, but I don't know what the specialty was.
Me neither.
My perspective with Iron Man, the two that I absolutely couldn't deal with was for I don't know how many issues. It wasn't that many. They were drawing him with rivets on his face.
Oh, I remember that.
Do you remember that? And then you thought, okay, that's a mistake or it didn't work. They realized it. They stopped it. And then someone in their infinite wisdom on the red and gold.
You can go even further back. He had a nose.
The nose. The freaking
A
nose.
nose on the Iron Man suit.
Iron Man, Tin
believe it
Man.
or not, yeah.
Tin Man, Iron Man. And it was awful. Yeah, okay.
The golden age. Anyway.
Yeah. Dear God.
So, Iron Man, there's other ones that
There's a
I
lot,
just didn't
yeah.
want to list.
But
for the most part, a lot of them looked really cool.
They did.
And a lot of them were really great looking. Just probably about like maybe 10%, if less, looked like absolute garbage where he had the like weird gear shoulder.
I remember
things.
that, yeah. And yeah, the pop, yeah.
Yeah, it's just dumb. Superman. You think you couldn't mess up an iconic suit like that, but boy, they sure did try. He's had some bad costume choices.
They have. You remember, when he died, they resurrected him.
Yeah.
And
the black suit was cool.
The black. I like the black and silver. I thought that was interesting. And what was the big thing that came out about his resurrection? Do you remember the big change when he went back into the red and blue? There was one thing that they changed.
The blue and white.
No, that was after. He had the long hair.
Yeah. It wasn't.
It didn't last that long, thank God.
Yeah.
But it made him look, I don't know.
Made him look like he should have been on an episode of Chips.
It's something like that, yeah. But you mentioned the
70s TV show.
red and white and the blue and white.
Oh, yeah.
Those were terrible.
No,
and I think they lasted 6 months, honestly.
good.
Yeah, that storyline was
Garbage.
horrible.
My least favorite was that weird Super Cobra Commander look that he had in the Future's End
I
series.
do remember that.
Yeah, he looked like
Yeah.
a Cobra Commander.
He
that
did.
Turned into Superman. It was bizarre. So those are some weird ones. I think best costume change ever, and it's very iconic, was of course the Spider-Man getting the black suit.
Absolutely. I was worried about that because I'd been reading Spider-Man at that time for 14, 15 years. And when they mentioned there was going to be a change, I was like, how do you change something iconic like that? And then I picked up Amazing Spider-Man 252, and all of a sudden he's in this black and white, and it was like, oh, this is awesome.
When they introduced it, didn't they do redo the Steve Ditko cover where he was like?
They did. He's
through?
swinging,
Yeah.
and it's in the black, and you just go, "Oh my God, this is really cool." And it was all this pre-Venom stuff, and so the costume was unknown. It had its own abilities. It heightened every ability he had. Unlimited webbing. Not quite sure where it came from. Exactly. But yeah, I enjoyed the look. I thought it was clever. I thought it was classic. I really enjoyed it. That's probably the best one. Absolutely.
I think Thor is the only character that I know that hasn't had like absolutely horrible.
He did. He had one terrible.
One. See, well, he's been around since the Avengers.
I know, but it was cringeworthy. I don't even want to discuss it. It was absolute cringeworthy.
I think the ones that they went, you can track it like from time periods.
That's what it is, and
depending on the era, there were certain little costume changes done that were just absolutely goofy.
Yeah.
You were talking about Captain Marvel,
and that's a perspective thing too. Is Captain Marvel's a good example. I was introduced to Captain Marvel in the red and blue. And I love that outfit, and but he debuted with a green and white one, and when I saw it for the first time, I went, I can't believe they did this. Yeah, thank God they changed it. And that's what it is. It's perspective for a lot of people. The introduction of a character is how you want to remember them, I think.
Or how they're introduced to you.
Exactly.
As opposed to, because nowadays, I don't know what it is. It's like, what was it, Extreme? Remember him from the X-Men? I mean, honestly, how could you wear that suit? It had like razor blades everywhere.
It did everywhere.
How did your homeboy get dressed? I mean,
carefully.
There's no way now he could have wore that shit without getting cut like every day. I mean, but that, and that was that era there was like weird. They were doing all kinds of weird stuff.
They were.
There was like some kind of weird like S&M outfits on the X-Men.
There was some odd stuff.
Belts and
and straps.
They no longer had gauntlets. It was like 9 like wristbands
all the way up.
Like they've been collecting concert things.
Yeah, and everyone had a buckle.
Yeah, which can you imagine trying to put all of those on?
I mean,
it's like, we got to go to war. Let me check my watch. I got to get my outfit on first.
So I started with Amazing Spider-Man 74 off the rack, right? And so I'm buying those every month. And we get to 86, and on the cover is a shadow of a woman. And you go, what the devil is this? Spider-Man? Oh, I'm sure. And the first thing I see is this female in this god-awful purple thing with big mask and everything. And it's Black Widow. Right? Now, because of my age and because it was the first time, I didn't know who Black Widow was. And I'm reading this, and it was her costume change. Her first time in the black leather. She's never come back. With good reason.
Yeah.
Because that thing was terrible. And this was awesome. And it couldn't have been any more different than how she was conceived.
True.
So.
Let me see. It was worst of all time.
Worst costume of all time. Oh, dear God.
There's one character that's out there that has. And
I know who you're thinking of.
Two,
yeah.
Actually. Yeah, and mine was Punisher.
Yeah.
First started with Punisher 2099. That was just the dumb. I don't know what they were going for with that. He had these weird shoulder pad things going on.
Yeah.
The skull bled into like some kind of weird like wrestling championship belt thing.
It was odd. It was odd.
It was red on the like accents.
It did.
On it, and
yeah.
It was just not the Punisher.
And that the Punisher.
I mean, not that his black outfit with white boots was any kind of outfit. But
I like the fact that skull went into the belt on the original.
Yeah, but this was like
but this was different. Yeah, this was
it was like was like hanging down to his knees, like some kind of like weird like little.
You remember 2099? The whole
cloth or whatever.
The whole concept of 2099 was the world was not the best place to live in. And it reflected in all of this. So.
Yeah, it has some weird stuff going on with 2099. And then they recently, because of political reasons, changed the Punisher's logo to some goofy, I don't even know what it was supposed to actually look like.
A combination of, he became the leader of the, I almost said the foot, the clan, the hand.
The Hand Clan.
The Hand Clan. So he became leader of the Hand, and it was a conglomeration of the two.
And then he killed them all. It was like...
I didn't say he was a good leader.
Notice he never trained any of them to use a gun?
Yeah.
I mean...
because they're all acolytes.
He was a Punisher. And he never taught a single person in the hand to use a gun.
No.
Oh, that's the worst part.
Lord. Worst of all time.
Yeah. You gotta have one. Everybody has one.
Well, I did not like, Lord. John Byrne did Spider-Man Chapter 1, and it was supposed to be a retcon of the character. And he redid the first 14 issues of Amazing Spider-Man in his own way. And he tried to be, I give him credit, he tried to be respectful of Steve Ditko, and he was combining origins and stuff. Anyways, he got to Electro. And Electro has that iconic yellow and green with the...
That helmet, though, is stupid.
I know, but still, you know it's Electro. And he redesigned it to be blue and white.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Now, there's something about blue and white that just doesn't instill fear in me.
Unless there's a cop.
Yay! Okay.
So that is your worst of all time? Electro in the blue and white?
No.
Oh, well,
I do have one that I am passionately disappointed in because I feel it was a lazy, cheap excuse to create a character that was a strong individual because she had no powers and yet she always seemed to come through. They decided to make her always independent, extremely independent. Great introduction in comics, and anybody that knows comics knows her introduction. The dialogue for her introduction was incredible, and they decided to take the dialogue and water it down and create this poor excuse of a sidekick because she couldn't keep up with the Black Cat. And Mary Jane Watson was introduced to Amazing Spider-Man 42. In the last panel, Peter opens the door, and this beautiful redhead says to him, "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot." And then 60 years later, we get Jackpot.
it's a horrible character. Horrible character design, too.
Character design, character excuse, throw her in with Black Cat, now she can keep up with her. I don't understand her powers. I don't know why they did it other than a money grab. It makes a character less impressive. She now relies on something other than herself that she always did her entire life.
You know, the only two characters that I can think of that have had the fewest costume changes. Deadpool.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty standardized with what he does.
Yeah.
Or how he looks. And Wolverine.
Wolverine's been pretty standard, yeah.
I mean, but honestly, I started reading the X-Men when I was like 9, so like all through the 80s.
Sweet. So Uncanny, around the 120s?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
oh, wow, yeah.
So, but I always noticed something odd about Wolverine. It's like he rarely was ever actually in his costume because either he did not mind going around and just letting it all hang out, literally. I mean, I don't know how they got away with drawing him without having things show, but they did.
Yeah.
But it was like whenever he got in a fight, the first thing shredded was his costume.
Yep.
And he was literally fighting naked half the time.
Yeah, he was fine with it, too.
And I don't know, if I was a supervillain, that would install fear in me, having like a 5'2" angry midget coming at me, screaming, you know. I was like, okay, I'm done with this fight. I mean, but Wolverine and Deadpool, and their shows, movies coming up soon too. So
that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I have Marvel Girl, which was created in the '60s. Jean Grey went forever in that little green dress.
I was about to say with the little green.
It was a product of its time and everything. And then we got Phoenix, the green and gold Phoenix, which I thought was an incredible
I never understood the sash or whatever that little.
Oh, everybody had the opera gloves and the sashes.
That's true.
Yeah, but that green and gold was great. I thought that was a vast improvement. But Dark Phoenix, the red and gold, I love that one, right? And so that becomes iconic. And then they bring her back in that god-awful 90s outfit.
Everybody had all the weird stuff.
All the '90s stuff was
Bizarre.
rough. It was rough on me. Man. That was not good.
Yeah, it was because of and even Wolverine at one point had a belt of pouches.
Yeah, which made no sense.
Yeah,
I don't want to know
because
what he kept in there.
The worst was Cyclops, because what was Cyclops doing with pouches?
That made no sense.
Or
extra
belts
batteries.
You think he had like a little zoom or a selfie stick that he could hit the little side of his visor instead of lifting his hand up every time, but anyway.
You never experienced a Wonder Woman when they depowered her?
No. But she's gone through some interesting costume changes.
Well,
a lot of it was reflected by movies and TV shows,
oh, absolutely.
But that's a topic for another episode when we're the movies and TV.
But the one I'm talking about is when they depowered her and made her a karate expert.
Okay.
That was terrible. You gotta look that up. Look up Wonder Woman.
I want to now.
Oh, you want to?
No, I don't.
Oh, wait till you see the brand new mod Wonder Woman.
Mod?
Mod. From the 60s. Mod. It's gear, man.
M-A-U-D-E or
M-O-D.
Okay.
All right.
Like Mod Squad?
Mod, just like that. What about costume changes that reflected the modernizing the character? Such as Lex Luthor. He was basically an evil scientist. And then they brought him.
But they didn't have him walking around in a lab coat the whole time.
No, but it was the fact that when they brought him into the 80s, he became the evil corporate head. But then they gave him the super suit, which everybody knows.
Yeah.
And
one time he was wearing like rider pants or something like that.
I'm glad I missed that. I don't know that one. And along the same vein was Brainiac when they redesigned him.
He's just a robot now, right?
He went back to being green and all that, but they kept the ship because the ship was awesome. And Beast.
From the X-Men?
Yeah.
He used to wear like a jumpsuit or something like that.
He had the same costume as everybody else in the 60s, but no boots. Yeah, so he could hang from his toes and everything. They had to be, which was interesting because Iceman only had boots. Think about that for a minute. So, but then they gave him the blue fur. Now everybody knows who Beast is. Back then, he was just another whatever.
And swim trunks.
And swim trunks. Yeah.
That was the thing back then, having the wrestler trunks.
Yeah, that was huge. Yeah.
I don't understand that one, but yeah, that was the fashion choice of many a comic book character. I don't know why.
I've got just a couple. Green Arrow. When Mike Grell redesigned Green Arrow and he got the goatee and kind of like the Robin Hood outfit, and that reflected the new character of him. He became a different kind of hero. So he was more about the people, and he used to go after Batman for being rich and not doing anything for the poor. And he was out there.
Wasn't he rich?
He was, but he lost it all, and he found out what it was like to be poor. So, and then the only other one was Batman in the 60s when I can't think of it now. Redesigned him.
I went from the little spat circle thing and
yeah,
a big old target on him. Then it went to, what was that, year one, I guess, when they redesigned it with just a bat on
Yeah,
there?
the one I'm talking about is Neil Adams when in the 60s he gave him the gray and the blue, and Batman reflected by being, and the big cape.
Oh, and then he had like the big ears.
Bigger ears, but he became.
Off his gauntlets.
Yes, he had those. And
it's like, how are you going to drive a car with those? But okay.
Yeah, you didn't care. But he became gothic too, and he was more of a detective back then.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the heck out of all of the Neil Adams stuff. So I think that's one of the best costumes Batman ever had.
Fair enough.
So,
what is your opinion? Do you have a favorite costume on any character? We'd like to just comment in the comments.
That would be nice. I'd be interested.
Yeah, to hear what everybody else thinks. And how would you feel if a 5'2" hairy guy came running at you naked?
Oh,
that's Wolverine. Just so you know.
And the common thread I noticed as I was going through all this, I was doing villains and everything as well, is if you take the early, say, Steve Ditko, the Spider-Man stuff, Dr. Octopus, Kraven, Mysterio, Green Goblin, any of those from the first couple years, they're still the same design,
much,
which means that design was so good it stands 60 years of not having to change anything.
Well, Dr. Octopus got a yellow and green kind of armor looking.
Yeah, but that was temporary. The only thing about Octopus I didn't like that they keep doing is they change the tentacles.
Yeah.
And I like the classic tube, the low thing.
I'm glad they changed his hairstyle, though.
With the bowl cut?
Yeah, that wasn't,
they quite
I wasn't
get
doing it, yeah.
But mostly, if you look at those villains today even, they're the same basic design Steve Ditko did.
True.
And that means they were something.
And the modern day versions of that is Deadpool and Wolverine.
That's right.
They don't really change those guys much.
And Spider-Man's still in the red and blue.
Yeah. And Superman.
Nightcrawler, perfect example. Yeah, I don't think, did they ever change Nightcrawler or then give him the sword?
Yeah, they had him in a stupid pirate outfit.
That's the only thing I remember.
That was awful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I subbed that one out was stupid. But anyway. All right. Thank you all for making it to the end of the episode. If you like what you've just watched and want to see more, subscribe to Dreamwell Comics YouTube channel. And while you're feeling generous, give this video a like as well. It'll go a long way in boosting our self-esteem. If you have any thoughts or comments about what we discussed in regards to the comic book characters and their costumes, if you have one that you liked, you didn't like, and want to throw it in there, please do. Or if you have any options for future episodes, what you want, topics you want us to discuss in future episodes, please feel free to put them in the comments segment below. Dreamwell Comics Facebook page link is in the video description, as well as the Pop Culture Kaboom Facebook page link. Until next time, from Dreamwell Comics Shop Chatter, Robert Page. Big thanks to Brian Garland for being our camera guy and contributing as well. So stay safe, stay healthy, visit your local comic book shops,
Please.
and peace out, Wabbits.